So we put this together for would you like to be a Joy Business Facilitator? Now, I love that we've got some of the Joy Business Facilitators already on here and they're smiling. So they must be having fun. Exactly. So this is, I'm going to just talk a little bit about how and where I see Joy Business in the world, etc. And then if you guys have any questions as well, or if any of the JCFs, as we have nicknamed them, the Joy Business Facilitators, have anything they want to add, I'd love to welcome that as well. So, and Rebecca can do any of the form and structure stuff maybe, tell you about what we have in place. So my name is Simone Milasas. If I haven't met you, hello. I've worked with Access Consciousness for about 14, 15 years. I'm the worldwide coordinator, probably for about, I think, 12 years. After I got so involved in Access, I was, I had my own business, and I remember when Gary said to me, would you like to be, work with Access, and you could do this and you could do that sort of thing. And I was like, no, I can't. I've got my own business. I don't have time to do that. But then I started doing these little things and going, oh, you need this. I mean, they didn't even have an email when I showed up. And I was like, how do you contact everybody? So I started setting things up, and before I knew it, I was working with Access. And then I was having so much fun, and Gary was sort of like, wow, I need someone like you in America, because we weren't only in about 5 countries at that stage. So anyway, so I was like, I started doing things from here for the US and for Canada and New Zealand, etc. So, and the UK. So then it just sort of expanded. Now, one of the things that Gary also noticed was, Gary Douglas, founder of Access Consciousness, that I had a joy in business. It's like, to me, it's so incredibly creative. It's malleable. It's something that you can play with constantly. You can change it. You can be like, what this reality says is wrong. And then you can ask a question. What's right about this I'm not getting? And it's like something always greater shows up. So it's like, it's not a judgeable offense. And I know in this reality, a lot of times business is looked at as, well, what degrees do you have? Did you go to college? Did you do this? Have you done A, B, C? How many letters do you have after your name? All of that sort of stuff for someone to take you seriously in business. What if business wasn't serious? What if it was actually fun? So that's what I've always looked at it as, and I thought the whole world did as well, until I had this conversation with Gary one day, and he was like, no, Simone, the world doesn't see business the same way as you do. And I was like, what? Hands on hips, like a little dog with its, head on the side, just going, I don't get it. And I was like, why would you do business? Why would you have a job that you didn't like? Was my point of view. And he's like, yeah, but that's what people do. And I started to look around, and I noticed it's true. There's a lot of people who go to work Monday to Friday. They don't like their job. And then, especially in Australia, and it's like, Friday night, go out drinking until Sunday night, feel horrible, and then go back to work on Monday and complain about it. Monday is probably the biggest days of complaints, which is very interesting. The next Monday you have, which happens to be now in Australia, if you wake up and you're feeling like, oh my God, the drudgery, ask, who did it belong to? Because I can guarantee you it's not yours, it's Monday-itis. So what if we could change Monday-itis? What if we could change the way people actually looked about business, and they were in business, and they actually created things for the fun of it? The amount of people that you ask, especially if you start doing these classes, the amount of people you ask, it's like, truth, what would you really like to be doing? What would you really like to be creating? And they're not actually doing or being what they would like to be creating. So first of all, what if every single one of you right now destroyed and uncreated your relationship with your business, with yourself in business, with what you've decided creation is, with what you've decided money flows, currency flows, of how to create money, of how to even create, destroy and uncreate everything that is, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you were creating your future, what would you choose? What would you be? What energy would you be to create a future that you actually know is possible, and then go beyond that? So everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So I started doing Joy Business classes because Gary was like, you need to do classes on this. And I was up on stage giving these classes, and every time I was up on stage, I kept thinking, this is such a waste of time. You know, I'd be like, I would prefer to be doing business than talking about it. And that probably happened for about my first 8 or 10 classes. And then I realized when people came up and so grateful, like the tools and actually having used the tools and I went, oh, that matches the energy of what I would like to create in the world. So then I started doing more of the classes and then put the book together, etc. And it has grown and it has expanded. And it's like we have a whole team of awesome people working with Joy Business. And now we have a couple of handfuls of JCFs, Joy Business Facilitators, exactly. We had the first training last year in June. I selfishly did it in Australia, but it was great because I noticed that everyone who came, like they flew long distances to come. So I sort of knew that they actually really desired to be a JCF. The next training we have is in June again. It's in Copenhagen, Denmark. So for some people, it's a long way. For some people, it's really easy. So what this is also about is inviting you to become a Joy Business Facilitator, because one of the things I have heard, this is the main feedback I get, is number one, I don't like business, so how could I ever come to a class? Number two, I don't have a joy in business. And people have thought that they had to have joy in business before coming to a class or even facilitating it. You haven't had successful businesses or you haven't had a business, all of these things, and none of that matters. It's as being an access consciousness facilitator, if you're willing to ask questions, then you can be an invitation for people and you can change anything. My favorite thing about access consciousness facilitators, you don't have to have the answer. What do you have to have? Questions. Literally, you have to have, you know, you have an amount of money that you think you have to have in your bank account before you can facilitate a money class.
Hey, Simone, you're breaking up quite badly with the internet. I'm just wondering if anyone at your house is on the Wi-Fi and maybe they could get off.
Ash.
Well, she seems to be frozen and gone for the moment. So what I'm actually going to suggest, we actually have some phenomenal JCS on here. We have Katerina, we have Lauren, and I think we have Heather Nichols, and we have Francesca and myself. So guys, I would love it if you could just step in here and tell us a little bit about what being a JCF is and means and what you love doing with that.
I was on mute. Sorry. Can I say something? Since Simone really froze in that moment and she said, you are waiting to become great with money before facilitate a class about money, right? Or you have tons of money. So I was actually thinking that I wasn't really great in doing business and organize things and creating, and actually was really the opposite. I just really wasn't willing to recognize my capacity and my ability. And through all the Joy Business tools before becoming a Joy Business Facilitator, I really, you know, when you reburn, you have the value of you and what you are doing, what you are creating, how much fun it was for me doing business. And I did business since I was a kid, actually. But that's so funny that she froze there. It felt like really something that applied to me so much. Yeah.
I'm back, Francesca.
Yeah. Hi, Simone. I made you froze.
Thank you. I froze. It's so hot here. I don't know how you could freeze. I'm like almost sweating here. I'm sorry about that, guys. We've had a lot of problems with our internet, but I've just on my phone now, so hopefully this will work. So I'm not sure where I froze because I kept talking. Where did I freeze?
You were talking about the thing that you are waiting to have a lot of money before facilitating a class about money, or you are being grading. That's where you froze.
Uh-huh. Wow. I went on talking. I said some really profound stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, okay. So everywhere that you're waiting until you have a successful whatever it is before you actually facilitate it, where you destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot order, and shorts, boys and beyonds. Because the thing is, so I'm not sure if you heard this or not, what I was saying is one of my favorite things about being an access consciousness facilitator is you have to have questions. You don't have to have the answers. So even using the tools of what else is possible or how does it get any better than this can change someone's life. So if you're facilitating Joy of Business as well, you get manuals. We have a lot of things that we send you. The two main classes we have is Joy of Business 101 and then Joy of Business 102. Joy of Business 101 is called Business Done Different, not differently, different because it's totally different. And it's a lot of basic tools. Well, I want to say basic tools, but they're pretty amazing tools that sort of start to get people on that road to discovering that they can be in business, they can change things in business. Because like, how many of you think if you go into business, that's what you have to stick to for 5, 10, 50, 20 years? And it's like, you've made your decision. You're working in the banking industry, so you stay in the banking industry. No, maybe you want to have a dog walking business. I don't know. But what if you actually chose what it is that you would like to choose? So the Joy Business 101 manual doesn't change a great deal, and I say that now until it does. But it's sort of like taking people through a lot of the basic tools, foundational tools is probably a better word, to start to create their business and start to even create the ideas that they've had. Because how many people do you meet, including yourself, have these fabulous ideas, yet how do you institute them? So we sort of go through a lot of that. And then that's a one-day class, or you can do it as 4 telecalls. The second class, Joy of Business 102, is the adventure of business and living. And this is one of my favorites because I sort of feel like you got 2 days. So you get, I call it down and dirty with everyone's business. Because, after one day, in the afternoon, they sort of start to, asking more personal questions. In a 2-day class, people open up a lot more and you can really play with some of the tools there. And every single class I've done, it's amazing to see the group of people that is brought, and probably the JCFs can talk about this too, that there's this theme that seems to come up. And every time someone's asking a question, it sort of relates to everybody in the room. So it's a lot of fun. And like I said, it's not about you having to have all these answers and have a business degree. It's literally about you having the willingness to facilitate and be available for these people. And you have a manual, you have processes. And it's like, I've had a few JCFs that have called me, like at their lunchtime or something when they needed something. And we've just spoken for like 2 minutes and they're like, oh, cool, got it. And then moved on. So that's also available if you want. We have a whole lot of specialty classes, which we send you like a very short sort of manual with some ideas and processes and questions. So there's a lot of stuff that you can cover in being a Joy Business Facilitator. The book is now translated into, I think is it 9 or 11 languages, and we have a couple more that are coming. French is just about to be launched, and same as Japanese. And we're working on some more. So we're trying to spread the word around the entire globe because, this is one of the things I was saying, is my target would be that every single business in the world is using access consciousness tools. So therefore, it would be the joy of business. Now, let me give you an example. It's like one day I was going to Brisbane. I was in Brisbane, Australia, and I was with Gary Douglas, and we went to a restaurant for lunch, and we walk up the stairs, and this waiter says to Gary, oh my goodness, you're Gary Douglas, aren't you? You wrote the book Magic, You Are It, Be It. And he was like, yeah, I did. And so he's our waiter and he's like starstruck. It was really cute. And he asked us what we want for lunch. And Gary orders, and I'm looking at the menu, and he looks at me and he goes, are you asking what your body would like? And I said, yeah, I am. And he's like, wow, that's really great. That's really cool, And I was like, what if every single business had all of these tools? Like, what if every waiter gave someone a menu and said, hey, what would your body like to eat? Would it create more consciousness and more awareness on the planet? And then they were also like, hey, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible? Every time they had a customer that came in, every time they didn't have a customer that came in. It's like, it would create a planet that I would truly like to live on. And you know what? We're at a time now, if you look around, and it's like that we need to do something. We need to change something. And I don't think it's about, holding up signs and going on some petition. It's like there's a lot of things out there that I call Band-Aid solutions. What if awareness and consciousness was actually what could create and change the world, a world that you'd like your kids to live in, etc. So everything that is and everything that brought up, because it didn't feel so light, can we destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, pop and pot all night, shorts, boys and beyonds. So what else? Does anyone have any questions right now? And you have to unmute yourself if you have a question. Otherwise, all I can see is this. Okay. Would any of the JCFs like to pop in and say anything? Katerina, how have your classes been going?
Oh, it's so awesome. It's so much fun. And I love what you said, that every class seems to create a theme of its own. So I've had the Joy of Business classes that have turned out into house selling classes.
Right, exactly.
And also very interesting business classes that turned out to be sex classes.
Yep.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Sex is about receiving.
Yeah, exactly. It is so much fun. And I'm so extremely grateful for the Access tools and the Joy of Business tools to have this play with other people who are willing to step into more of themselves and their choices in their lives and in their businesses. My eyes are filled with tears, because the gratitude that I also receive as a JCF, when people send emails after or call me after and say, hey, you know what, the day after class this showed up, or the week after I asked to have less work on my ordinary job and more on my side, on the side. And suddenly I got this project taken away from me, and I had this other coaching assignment showing up. So how does it get any better? Thank you. So it's this magic that you can't really logically explain.
Yeah.
And I see it creating so much in everyone's world, and including mine. So it's such a pleasure to be out there. I'm so grateful for this. It's so much fun.
Awesome. And you know what? I personally think that we have a better deal than doing relationship classes. Because if we were doing relationship classes, there's a level of insanity around that is like, well, people don't just walk out the next week and go, guess what? I found the perfect mate. And it's like, I've had so many stories, like you said, with, recently I had someone who we were looking at creating their own financial reality. And one of the tools that we talk about is adding up all of your expenses, etc., and working out exactly how much it costs to run your life. And I used her as I call it a guinea pig on one of my telecalls. And it ended up being $20,000 that she required. And she was sort of in a bit of a beyond going, oh, how could I ever create $20,000 a month? The next month, she sent me this great testimonial, and she's like, Simone, I made $20,000 this month. And I was like, yes. So it's like these tools have got, you use them, they work. So cool. Thank you. Hey, Heather, do you have anything you want to add? You'll have to unmute. Yeah, perfect.
Oh man, it has been such a gift for me to be facilitating these classes. Yeah, just similar to Katerina, I love watching people create, like giving them, and even the one-day class, like the 101 class, I am amazed. Every time people take that class, it's like their whole reality changes, their whole business changes, their money flows change, and it's like one day, and they're like creating. And then the 102, I've done the 102 class one time, and it was so much fun. I had like a whole bunch of people in the class. Like the next couple days afterwards were like, oh my gosh, somebody gave me $10,000, or I got a promotion, or like I'm not working as much in my job and I can create my business on the side, or like I'm having more fun. It's just, oh man, because to me it's like, when we know that we can create anything and we actually have the tools to do it, that's what changes the world and contributes to the earth. And so to me, it's like, this is such an amazing way to create a different possibility on the planet is to just get these tools in people's hands. And there's something about the way that people go for it after these classes that I haven't seen before. And it is a total delight. It's such a gift. I love it. So thank you, Simone.
You're welcome. Thank you, Heather. And both of these girls have done what part of the deal is, and I think Rebecca sent it all to you if you're on this call, but part of the deal is you get to do Joy Business 101. You have to do 10 of them first with at least 6 people in it before you get to do a 102. And I'm sure the girls would say that they agree. Why? Because there's so many things that pop up. So both Heather and Katerina are now doing 102s, which is awesome. It's such a thrill when I see, Heather going to Hawaii and Katerina off to Hungary. And I'm like, yes, that so matches the energy of what I'd like to see in the world. So almost makes me cry. One of the things I wanted to mention was Gary Douglas on one of his Money Teller calls the other day was talking about enthusiasm. And one of the things was he said, only enthusiasm will open the door for you to have everything that's possible. You know what? That is what Joy Business is about. It's like having the enthusiasm that creates business as an adventure that anything can happen. And even you guys talking now, it's like the enthusiasm that I have for it, which I thought that I was alone on the planet. And guess what? It's so funny when you do a class and you have people come in and they've judged themselves so harshly for enjoying business. And by the end of it, they're like, oh, I am one of those people who do have a joy of business. And like, yeah, you're not wrong for complaining about Mondays. You're getting excited, enthusiastic about Mondays. It's okay. And there's a lot of those people out there seeking for something different. So I see we've got Lauren on here too. And Lauren's done a bit of a difference as well. She's done some joy business classes. And she also did joy business class for mums or parents. You want to talk a little bit about that and how much fun you've been having?
Oh my God. Well, I was just thinking about the testimonials that I got after my first Joy Business I did the 101 class, but for moms. And I really didn't know if it had changed anything for anyone. And then I kind of was going, maybe no one else wants this Joy of Business, especially for moms. Like, what am I insane trying to empower moms to know that they can still create their lives and they don't have to just be moms. And I was just sitting there and, God, is this even worth doing? And I got 3 people contacting me that day saying how much the class had changed their life and how they didn't know that they could, they as a mom thought that they didn't have any value other than taking care of their kids, and these amazing, beautiful words that yeah, same. Just these classes change so much for people so quickly. It's amazing. So if you ever wanted to change someone's life, definitely don't become a Joy Business Facilitator. Definitely don't bring it to the world because it doesn't work. It doesn't empower anyone. But also the other thing I wanted to say is that the specialty classes, which you guys will probably tell them what they get to do too, but they're so much fun because they're so pragmatic and what do you call it? Niche-y. You can take it and put it, to create your own financial reality, whatever the other ones are. But you can take these tools and they're Simone's already done all this work to apply it to specific areas. It's it makes it so easy if you doubt your ability or you want to get your feet wet before you go out there and create your own totally brand new class. She's already given you these outlines with these processes and these it's Simone does all this work for you. Basically, you can just take it out to the world and do your thing with it. It makes it really easy. That's the other thing I wanted to say. So
thank you. And one of the things I wanted to mention with that too is, I've done say creating your own financial reality is one of them. So I did a class on each of these so that if you desired, you could actually listen to the class and get the tools from that. And then we create, like I said, a small guide for you to have that class. And you can make it a 1-day class. You can make it a 4-hour class. You can do whatever it is you choose with it. And with that class, there's no royalties. There's nothing like that needs to be paid. You can put it up on the Joy Business website. And if you haven't already checked that out, go to accessjoybusiness.com and then check out the facilitators. You actually get your picture, your bio, your classes can all be put up on the Joy Business website, which is also you have to be on the Access Consciousness website. So there's a lot going on. And one of the things I've been looking at, which I haven't actually mentioned to any of the Joy Business team yet, but Lauren reminded me, is that what I wanted to do was encourage people who did have these sort of niches within Joy Business. So like Lauren with the Joy Business for Mums, and it's like, and helping in any way for that to be one of the specialty things, like with a manual, etc. And the other thing that keeps getting asked about Joy Business for corporates. And the other day I was looking at it thinking, you know what, Heather has already gone in there and done a whole bunch of stuff. So why not sort of, you know, assist Heather and the others that desired it in creating that Joy Business for corporates rather than having to be me that does it. So it's like, what ideas do you have and what could we contribute to each other to change the world? Because you know what, it's a big world and it's a small world. And it's like, so what would it take for there to be hundreds and thousands of JCFs out there, you know, empowering each business, each idea that people have in the world to become more? And everything that doesn't allow that to show up, let's destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all night, shorts, boys and beyonds. So, does anyone have any questions? Rebecca, do you have anything? You're also a JCF and you've done classes, and I know Francesca was talking. Do you have anything that you want to add? I forget. You're just like you run the show.
Yeah, well, one of the other things that I wondered if we could just do a little sneak peek. I don't think anyone else actually knows, maybe apart from you and I, on how we want to do the next Joy of Business Facilitators class different. You've told me so many amazing plans, and I actually can't keep them held in any longer. So can you announce what we want to do?
Sure. So one of the things that, because it's 4 days, right? And one of the things I noticed last time, as a first off gift, I gave everyone the gift of Max Zulak did videos. So we made videos, etc., of them introducing themselves and becoming a JCF. Now, I am going to ask, Muse Sodergren is going to be there. I am going to ask her if she can have that as an availability. But I have a feeling the class is going to be too big to do it within class. So we'll make times outside of class. And unfortunately, you'll have to pay for it this time. I paid for the first lot, but that was they took the risk of coming to the first JCF training. So that was my gift to them.
It was worth it just class. I just have to say that class was so phenomenal. Even if I never went and used the license, just doing the class for the sake of the class was worth it. And I was like extremely pregnant with twins.
I was going to say, you were like lolling around on the ground, almost ready to burst.
Exactly.
So, but one of the things I noticed was when we were doing these videos, everyone was bursting to create with each other. So one of the things that we want to do is also have this like half a day where we do create with each other. And it's like, okay, so what capacities do we have? What can we contribute with each other? And have these little sort of things. And it's like, okay, so now let's create something different, or what ideas do you have over here? And actually start to institute some of the ideas that you have. That's one of the things that I want to do. We're also going to have Chris Hughes again. He's coming out and he's going to do a whole section on actually facilitating classes on sales and marketing, because he is phenomenal. He's absolutely amazing at sales and marketing. He has a degree, but besides having a degree, he has a joy of sales and marketing, which is what we want to incorporate. So what else was there, Rebecca?
Gosh, it's hard to see, especially with these classes. The cool thing is you're willing to go anywhere. Like we did a couple of projector screen tutorials in the last one. And I mean, with the videos being created live in the class as well, and then the fact that you get to ask Simone questions for 4 days about anything, like half of the new manuals that we have were created from that class. Actually, we updated so much material from these conversations with you, the people that are going to be facilitating them.
And one of my favorite things is to go out and have a look at the businesses around, and then we chat about it and ask questions, because we'll be in Copenhagen, Denmark. So it's like at lunchtime, it's like, go check out the businesses and go check out what tools that you could offer if you did, to see if it could change anything. Because that's literally what can happen. You could be working with many different businesses and going in and changing the way they are. And it's like increasing their cash flows and their currency flows and their clients and everything. So if it sounds like fun to you, email us. You can always email us at team@accessjoyofbusiness.com. So TEAM@accessjoyofbusiness.com. joyofbusiness.com. And there's a whole bunch of us that received that email, and the wonderful Peggy follows it up and answers you or gives you information, etc. And we do have, I have some classes coming up in Japan, in Tokyo, and Paris, which I just love saying that, in Paris. I'll see you in Paris. It sounds like a movie. And also in Istanbul. And then I've got one in Copenhagen that will be live streamed before the JCF training. And then I'm also in Denver and Hong Kong this year. And that's it. But you've also got Katerina, you've got Heather, I know, definitely doing classes. I'm not sure about the others, but you can find it on accessjoybusiness.com. Go to the classes section and you can find that. If you have any questions about the prerequisites, you do have to be a CF to be a JCF. It was interesting. That was something I was sort of like weighing up and going, oh, I'm not sure what I wish to do. And I know that I truly desired to have just CFs, because you've done so much before. Once you become a CF, you've worked with Gary, you've worked with Dane, you've done all of this. And the funny thing was, at the JCF training, there was not one person in there who wasn't a CF. And I was like, right, that's it. You have to be a CF to do it, because that matched the energy more of what I would like to see in the world. So it makes it easy, because you go CF. And then one of the other prerequisites is getting the 12 steps of creating business, a successful business, or a business that you deserve, or I can't remember what it's called. It's with Gary Douglas, and it's amazing. It's a tele-series. So we have a whole list of strong recommendations of what we would like you to do. It's like, because Steve and Tissa Bowman have created a lot in the world, and they've created a lot of things around business that is different to what I would do. And it's like, so sort of getting that genre of the difference of what business can be as well. You have to have done 101 and 102 twice. You only have to do one of those classes with me. You can do a 101 and 102 with one of the other JCFs. But if you're going to be a JCF, you have to have done a 101 and a 102 with me, at least one of them. But the others, go for it. Go find out what it's like to be facilitated with Katerina and Heather and Lauren and Rebecca and Max and everyone. I think Max is doing some classes soon too.
And I just have to point out that class with Simone, or you have to have attended at least one class with Simone live. We do need to meet you. That is really important.
As Gary said, you need to see the whites of their eyes to see what they're choosing. Which I liked that. I thought that was great. So is there any other questions or anything anyone else wants to add?
I just want to give a little testimonial about the facilitators class too. I've probably told you, Simone, I don't know, a couple years ago, like whenever and wherever you do this facilitator training, I'm there. And it just so happened to be like I had my kids and it wasn't easy. And I literally flew to Australia for 4 days or 5 days, took the class, flew back to the US, and my whole life and my whole business has been totally different ever since then. It was so worth it. It was like one of those things in my life that changed everything. So yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. I'm so enthusiastic now. What future can we create? So what awareness of a future do we have that we haven't been willing to acknowledge that if we did, could change not just your reality, but everybody's reality around you? And everything that is times a godzillion when you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all night, shorts, boys and beyonds. Even if you don't become a JCF, or after this you're not interested, there's one thing I would like to leave you with, and it's been coming up for me a lot, is start being willing to be aware of the future you would like to create. Because you have to be aware of the future you would like to create a business, to create your life and your living, okay? So keep asking, what future would I like to create today? And everything that doesn't allow that to show up, the awareness of it, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all night, shorts, boys and beyonds. Cool. So thank you so much for joining us today. And like I said, if you have any questions at all, email team@accessjoybusiness.com, or you could ring up Francesca, Rebecca, myself, the team, whatever, and we will do the best to give you the information. So, and I hope to see you all at Joy Business class soon, whether it's mine or one of the JCFs. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
Bye-bye,
a lot.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.